Yeah, it has my headphones connected.
I can hear you, but I don't have any way to check YouTube to make sure that. But I think that if I can hear you, I think StreamYard is putting it on YouTube.
Perfect.
And it says it is streaming, and I've just went ahead. Like I said, I just figured out, guys, I just figured out the techie thing. I'm sure they know if they're watching. And I think that it is going. It is streaming, and I just oh, there. Look at how funny. I just figured out the techie
what
thing.
the heck? My TV like switched to it.
I think that it is going. It is streaming, and I just. You know what? I had it on there. It must be delayed a little bit. I had it on there to see if the time switched because we put it up a little bit. Anyway, we're getting started, guys. Elyse, first of all, this is my special guest, Elyse. I am really, really grateful to everybody that has agreed to come and share their company with me and talk about things that a lot of us are dealing with. And it just feels really good to kind of get motivated for myself. And it just feels good vibes. And I cannot thank you enough for coming on. Today's topic is super important. I've definitely put myself out on Front Street. Just yesterday, I thought, if we're going to do a video about vulnerability, why don't I show up to the place?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. It was an awesome video, so you guys check that out. It was amazing.
Thank you. I'm telling you, you inspire me. I was like, this is amazing. I love kindred spirits. So I was thinking about vulnerability. I did write a couple notes. They know, my people know if you know me, I don't usually do this, but I was like, okay, it's so important, I think, of a subject. I wrote down like the definition. But one thing I was thinking about vulnerability is when there is a quote I heard. It says, that which we do not illuminate, we cannot eliminate. And it's by this guy, Phil Good. And I'm like, hey, that is so true, because we illuminate, by being vulnerable. We illuminate maybe some flaws, experiences, things that we felt. And we then eliminate it for other people in order for them maybe to take notice and to eliminate it for us to process too. So we'll get going. I totally want you to just have the floor. This is good, people, you guys. And first Pisces guest, Pisces fellow fish. Okay, so vulnerability is derived from the Latin word vulnerare, meaning to be wounded. So I thought that was interesting because definitely I felt liberated, as you said, after I did my video yesterday. But I did feel kind of like very surprised at how, hesitant that I was. I really had to test myself, and that was a good test for me to see, hey, you say that you don't care about judgment, but here you are sitting here wondering if this and that relative is going to see and think that you're schizophrenic. You know what I mean? So It's real. So, sorry.
And that's actually funny too, because my uncle's schizophrenic. So
are you serious?
My parents, before I don't mean to cut you off, but my parents, they're kind of like, for me on the spiritual journey, I try not to talk about it a lot because it's very, like you said, it's a vulnerable topic. One, and it means a lot to me. And then two, having somebody in my family who, like, I actually want to bring this up, that I think he was, clinically schizophrenic, but I swear he was going through a spiritual awakening, didn't know how to handle it because it was back in the 70s.
Yes.
And we didn't have internet to be able to reach other people. And I'm sure he had nobody in his community and friends around him to be able to talk about whatever, he 100%. Was going through.
You know what? That should be maybe our topic for our next video, because I was just writing in my journal about the fact that they wanted to institutionalize Mary Lincoln after her husband got assassinated. It's like she was always into spirits and mediumship. I have a theory, because I've worked with special needs, autistic and Down syndrome students. I have a theory that when you are affected mentally with mental health, like I was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety disorder, and there's other spectrums like the schizophrenia. And I think yes, clinically, I'm sure, of course, there is some definite credence. However, do I think that all of those people, all of them, have a sensitivity? Absolutely. And I think a lot of people just are too sensitive maybe to handle it. And I know for sure that Down syndrome kids, it's amazing what I've seen. So yeah, that is a tie-in for sure. And it's like, it's unfortunate because like before, like you said, we're very lucky in this age to have thank you. Like I have you to be like, oh, okay. She's heard the seeds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I swear I would have been like, I'm losing my mind if I didn't have the, the internet and the community, the spiritual community to be able to help me understand like what I'm going through. And it wasn't, I looked up certain diagnosis and stuff like that. And I'm like, this isn't it. Like, this is a whole different thing. And it got to a point where like I would show my mom like synchronicities, like through animals, through numbers, through feathers, like crazy stuff. And my mom would be like, "Oh my God, all right, like this is weird. Like I see what you're talking about, because this is, I don't see this every day. Like your father doesn't see this every day. No one that I know sees this every day. So clearly, you have a connection to God, and
That's great that she paid that homage to you, gave you that validation.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that is so awesome. And I think it's to be said, I just wanted to say this is a perfect example of being vulnerable, is you coming on and I talking about these kind of things that a lot of people think and feel, you know what I mean? They just don't express it to others. So I wanted to ask you the first question and give you the floor, but I want to say the definition of vulnerability is susceptibility to a negative outcome, harm, rejection. That's my thing. Shame or judgment. Okay. So I have a whole bunch of questions, but look at me in my notes. Okay, so I wanted to ask you first, why do you think that it is an important quality to be vulnerable?
Just because, being vulnerable just helps you shine your light. Like being vulnerable is just being you. And if you hide that away, you're not being able to show up for yourself and show up for your community, the people around you. And it's like you're locking away what God created. And it's like, God's like, I made you for a reason. Like, show the world, even if you shine differently, or, you walk differently, you march to the beat of your own drum, which I do. And it's taken me a long time to uncage myself with what I've caged myself in for so long, because I am different. And, in many aspects of especially the people around me. And it's I hope I answered that right. But
oh no, heck yeah. I was gonna say it makes it such a more attractive quality. Like you're so beautiful inside and out, really. And it's just such a more attractive quality. Like, when people are able to be so real that they acknowledge that they were, holding themselves back, and then to be free. It's just beautiful. Like I got this tattoo for the first year of my healing elements. It says in Spanish, because my kids are half Spanish, free as a bird. So it's like, I felt for a long time, that I was really, truly, and I didn't know if it was conscious. Like, for instance, that's a good question, I guess, to bring up to you. That's why I like to do it, like spur of the moment. Do you think that it was something you consciously did hold back, didn't want to be vulnerable? Or is this something maybe just from patterning or programming? You know what I mean? Is this something that you were conscious of, like, I don't want to say this in front of that person because of this judgment?
I'd say both, but probably a lot more conscious of doing that, of just like seeing the rest of the world, seeing who I was surrounded by, and everybody was kind of the same. Everybody walked the same line and talked the same way and did the same thing, and it was like, I'm like, this is so cliche. Like, this is way too, like, I hate normal. Like, this is, and I just like put myself in this, I'm a triangle trying to shove myself in this square box. Yeah. And I couldn't, like, I think that's another reason why my throat chakra got closed for so long, because I tried to fit into this mold that was not me.
Want it? Yeah.
Yeah. And to finally, like, slowly unchain myself from the chains I put myself in was a journey in itself. And I still am. Like, I mean, every day I'm still trying to find my light and then be able to shine it, which we've talked about for like a lot.
I wanted to ask that question to bring it up to them. I thought it was beautiful, and was like, damn, hats off. I wanted to say that I just think it's incredibly brave of anyone who is starting to go through ascension or spiritual awareness journey or awakening during the last few years. So when did you start the awakening? Is that when you started to uncage your bird and be more vulnerable?
Yeah, I'd say, like, when I kind of talked about it with you, I think 2016 is when it began. Okay. Like the dark night of the soul, what they call that. And then 2019 is when I cut all my hair off. You saw my Instagram picture, like, yeah. My hair is down to my waist, and but I never, I have beautiful hair. Like, I'm blessed with beautiful hair, but and everybody's like, oh, your hair's nice, blah blah blah. but I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't want this for myself. Like, I want to be free. And so my first thing that I did was I went to the salon and I was like, chop it off, please.
Nice.
And that was the first like liberating moment I had on my spiritual awakening, to be like, if I can do something physically right now to unchain myself, this is it.
Yeah.
So that was the start of that. Yeah, 2019 was the start. So I went from 2016 to 2019 in like a really dark, like, I'm like, I'm not budging. I'm not getting out of this cage. And then I was like, one day I got through like a bad breakup, which, life shows you people, karmic situations. Yes. So I was like, that's it. Like, this is my fifth karmic relationship that has showed me that how much, I don't respect myself. So people won't respect me. I don't shine my light so people don't see it. So then I was like 2019.
That's vulnerability. That's freaking beautiful right there for you to say that. That's dead on for what I experience, is like being able to say, you know what, I don't blame X and karmic for what they did. I do, but I want to take my own accountability. And that's vulnerable to say that. So right on you. And it's so interesting because you mentioned something that I did. I fought it so hard. I fought it because when the spiritual awakening came on so strong, all of these things, everything from dark nights of the soul to just crazy things that I was able to do and see. And so I don't think it's uncommon to either be stunned or kind of freaked out, or just like, this is intense. This is too much. A lot of people say spiritual awakening. Oh, let's go skipping in the tulips. No, there's times like that, like right now, we're vibing, but yes, I fought it very hard. And so I'm glad that you took that step to cut your hair, and I love feeling liberated. You gave that to me. It feels like a little weight, right? Lifted off of you. Yeah. So I think that's rad. Okay, so I wanted to say, how has being, I guess since then, how has being more vulnerable either helped or hindered you? Like, do you feel more liberated, I assume, or confined? Are you proud of this or ashamed? Are you, wanting to do more of it or pull back?
Liberated and proud.
Yes.
But it's taken me so long, like I said, because I've slowly had to adjust to myself and who I am. Yeah. And there's still some times when when I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm not fully still expressing myself. There's still a lot more that I need to uncover. So it's been a journey of unraveling what I've closed for so long. Just finding myself has been beautiful, and I think everybody should, and nowadays, especially nowadays, I mean, throughout history, but nowadays everybody's walked the same line. Everybody, listens to the same music, makes the same YouTube videos. For example, you go on YouTube, because I'm a personal trainer, I go on YouTube and everybody is has their name and then fit afterwards. It's like everybody jumped in the bandwagon. It's like, go do your own thing, be your own person, start your, pave your own way. And when I see that, I'm like, yes, when I see somebody do that, no matter LGBTQ, whatever, no matter what, seeing somebody march to the beat of their own drum or starting something new, in their own way, it's I love that. And that fuels me. So
yes, I did not know that you're a personal trainer, and that's awesome. Yeah. That is amazing. I can tell you my story, but that's in a different video. That is amazing. And I feel like that you have that healing energy. It's obvious to me, but I can't speak enough about it, how you really make people feel secure by testifying. I want to thank also, I saw a comment on here. I think it shows me, Jessica, all she knows. Thank you so much. She also is, I think, one of the same type of people, by storytelling, by relating, by making people feel as your peer equal. That helps so much. You helped me so much. And I want to say about the work in progress thing, I think that the most, evolved, and there's no levels, but evolved person who's on this journey understands that we will not stop learning and evolving and being sucked back in and out and going through this cycle until the day we cross over into the other side. So yeah, I love to, like you said, it's kind of funny that you talked about cutting your hair. Well, I got shit for so long about these my family, why do you wear those ratchet fake hair clip-ins? And I'm like, because it makes me look fun, and then I dissed it. I didn't have anything to do with it for years because I was like, well, they don't like it, my kids and my, I better not wear it. So then after this, I'm just like, more and more as I'm like, who cares? Even if my little clips show, if I'm happy and I'm just, this is what makes me happy. I want to wear purple polka dot shoes, whatever it is. I want to go, tomorrow and move to Brazil. Whatever it is that truly sings within your heart space, it is such a good feeling. You obviously raise your frequency when you do that. So
exactly. And nobody else lives in your mind except you. You're the only one who's thinking these thoughts, and like, why not create good ones? Why not be comfortable with those thoughts? And so if somebody has something to say, okay, whatever, but you're the one who's living with your thoughts. Like, you have to sit there all day and be like, okay, so I have to make this person happy, and then hopefully I make that no, like, and that's what I've done. Like, I did for so long, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't even know who I am when I look in the mirror. So that's when I was like, that's it. Like, I gotta change. I gotta find myself.
You know what? Me and you are so vibing that's my next question. Watch this. You totally Pisces, like ESP this out. I was going to say, the next question is about self-talk. I was going to say, what self-talk that was negative and impacted you in the past, did you change, or what did you replace, or how does self-talk affect us all? Because I know that I had to really change that format because I was letting all those other voices be my own. Like, I think it's ugly. I shouldn't wear my, you know what I mean? So
yeah, and you start to, especially if you're a highly sensitive person, you start to pick up on other people's telepathic thoughts about how they think about you.
Yes.
And if you don't, do the work to cleanse, your energy, you take on those thoughts as if they're your own. And sometimes you don't even realize if those are your thoughts or if those are their, those people's thoughts. So, I mean,
true.
Say that question again. I'm sorry.
Oh, just self-talk. Like, like before, did you have any ruminating negative self-talk regarding maybe not liberating yourself, or, did you have anything negative that held you back? And when obviously I know that you were able to change that self-talk, then, I think that's vulnerability and beautiful. So I just want to say, did that ever affect you? Did you have a lot of ruminating self-talk, kind of like a recorder telling you certain something? And if so, what was it?
Yeah, I still do. I mean, I still deal with those thoughts. I think everybody has times when your mind is your own worst enemy. But what's helped me a lot, like what's really helped keep my mind under control is obviously meditation, but and being connected to Source and realizing that, Source sees you is a beautiful light. You're created from Source. God, it's like, so, just trying to connect through meditation and realize that I'm bigger than just this body.
Yes.
And that a lot of subliminals, I try to do that as much as possible, like in the morning and at night. More in the morning when I'm waking up, I notice my mind's always going. At night, I can, do some sort of meditation or whatever. But subliminals, affirmations, that has been like a lifesaver. And
what got you into it? You mind if I ask, like, what kind of spurred the interest in checking into what meditation or subliminals was?
Wanting to know more about like what's going on in my spiritual journey, and that was kind of the cliche thing of like just meditate if you're and I was like, well, whatever, let me try it. Let me try to meditate. Let me see if this works. And at first your conscious kind of, your ego kind of takes over, and it's like, this isn't doing anything.
Right.
But it's like working a muscle. Like, you have to keep doing it. And sometimes I find myself I can't sit in one spot for a while. So sometimes I'll do just like a 5-minute meditation just to breathe, just to get more of my breathing, and that calms me down. But yeah, like meditation for sure.
No, it's rad. You know what? I feel you on the comment that you said, like, because so many people, when I went to the psychotherapy class, they were like, what? Don't give me that hippie mumbo jumbo to the teacher, And it was interesting because that was me before. I'm like, dude, that was me. I tried several times and I thought I was trying, but I didn't, like you said, give it days in a row, even if I did back out after 5 minutes. But man, let me tell you, when you get into that place of just, wow, the energy, the headspace is so clear. My heart space is so clear. It's pretty much a miracle. And so, it's a godsend. And shout out, let me see it. we have comments. All she knows is Jessica, who came on and she was talking about forgiveness. So she was also definitely she would agree with the whole meditation thing. We should get a call together where we're all talking about meditation. I'm curious as to when it works for people.
I loved her mindset. Like I loved her perspective. Like I could relate to it a lot when you guys were talking.
Me too. It felt good. And it feels good to have someone here, you know, like it's just good vibes. As far as it's so important. And I think that sometimes, I don't know about you, I was going to ask, because of vulnerability and maybe the judgment or something that comes after, do you ever do what I've done in the past, which I'm coming out of, thank you to all you guys that are agreeing to do this, when I pull back and I isolate myself because of that, you know, because I've been vulnerable and then I got, and then I kind of I'm still finding even the spiritual journey. I'm like, okay, well, I'll back up. I guess I won't go into any chat rooms and astrologers again because ABC, you know what I mean? So have you had any like that?
Yeah, I mean, like I've wanted to start my YouTube channel for forever. But I would create videos and then post them and delete them and create them, post them, delete them. And I'd just be thinking, you know, oh, what if this, you know, judgment, vulnerability, being vulnerable, like, just what if this person sees this and doesn't like that or doesn't agree with me and has something to say? And I'm like, just in my head about it. But I think with the energies going on right now, especially through Scorpio season, having to do a lot of deep, dark, ugly work, this Sag season, like I can feel more of that freedom and liberation.
Yes,
like coming up from the depths and like rising, like that phoenix, like rising from the depth. So with you like asking me to come on, I think this is a nice step into my journey of, you know, speaking my truth. So.
And mine too, girl. Like, it's so cool how I love that we're all interconnected. And then no matter where or what or why we're on, you know, our part of our journey, this totally helped me and solidified, like, yes, there are people who, you know, can speak and want to come on your channel. Cause I do the same thing in like the dark night of the soul. I also want to say a lot of spiritualists say that is only a one-time occurrence. There is no way. I think dark night of the soul up your entire time, even until the day we die, you know? So,
exactly.
I wanted to speak on that. That is something that got me to ask Elyse to come on, and I was touched. I teared up. I really am an emotional person. I really genuinely appreciated. On the last video, you guys, on the forgiveness with Jessica, I had spoke real briefly, and it's so cool that you picked up on that, how much it meant to me, about how I mean, that was such a huge trigger. I was amazed how a situation in football, the team I've supported and went to season ticket holder forever, before they moved to Vegas, the Raiders had an unfortunate, really terrible thing. 22-year-old named Ruggs. I just
prayer. Oh my God, you're 22? I didn't even know
22, that. And my daughter is 23. So it was just a lot, you know. And he obviously he was like a real good player. He was picked just last year. You know, he bought his mom a house and all this, and then he was texting all the people when he was at like, I guess, like a little golf land place, like doing miniature golf in the middle of the night. And he was going 156 miles per hour, and he was drunk, and he hit somebody that was parked. It was she also was young, a 23-year-old girl with her dog. Oh, wow. And the dog died on impact and she did not. And the firefighters could not get her out. And so he was uninjured, very little injured. And so he had to, as his karma, listen to her burn. And it is like, when I saw that, my son showed me the thing. I almost said, son, oh man, I already knew it. And then that just took me to a different reality, because, you know, reality is, it's just real, you know, sometimes it's just traumatic and stark. And so for me, I say, thank God every day. And I really use this as a daily affirmation, say it in my head probably 10 times a day. Thank God I almost killed myself and ran into a tree only when I got my DUI and got arrested and all that. I'm so glad that it was me instead of someone else, because that sadness of knowing that I would have hurt someone else or killed someone else, God forbid, that's something that other people truly have to deal with. So that brought everything back that I already thought. I mean, I've done accountability. I've gone to counseling. I've gone to this and that. My mom, my kids, everything has been accounted for. But we always, I think, have to give ourselves and allow ourselves to have a little portion and to be vulnerable enough to say it's in there a little bit. You know, we might have a trigger to bring it up. And when it happens, I used to just be like, tough up. Oh, no. So to let it out and to cry about it and to deal, and then to have you message me and say that you felt, you know, a little bit resonant with that and experienced that. I was so grateful. And I just wanted to say that right there is just a beautiful vulnerability for you to like just message and say that. So thank you. And I wanted to give you an opportunity if you wanted to speak anything about, you know, how that situation maybe for you put you in a vulnerable place, or anything about the trigger that came up, because Scorpio season, yes, it was very emotional.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like Jesus, like this, like just talking about it, like it hit. And I say, oh my God, he's only 22, but I got my DUI when I was 23. Okay. And that was the middle of the storm of the dark night of the soul. Mm-hmm. And I swear my angels were with me that night, watching over me, protecting me, because I think if the cops said if I had one more drink, I would have died, because I had so much alcohol in my body. And what had saved me and everybody else around me that night was I was pulling out of the parking garage. I was in the middle of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tampa, but I was in the middle of like this main strip on Tampa with all the clubs. Okay. I was pulling out of the parking garage, and I took a quick turn and hit the side as I was trying to pull out. And then I backed up a little bit and I did a little bump with this lady behind me. Like, there was no damage to anybody's car, not even a scratch. But that was enough for somebody to call the cops and be like, this person is like absolutely like beyond wasted. Like, so if I had the chance to pull out of that parking garage, because there were people walking up and down the strip, I can't even tell you how many people I would have hit. Yes. Or ran into, you know, a building and hurt myself. So
I have the chills all over my cheeks. 100% Spirit is validating, like, girl, the Lord, angels had a purpose, and they knew your path. And that was like a little bit of like penance, like, here, you know, you're not going to get away with that. We want to teach you a lesson, but you know what, sweetie, your golden soul is going to be protected. So that means.
And I was like, as much as, and I didn't see it then, but as much as, you know, as much crap as I had to go through with that, and as much, you know, almost $20,000 spent in the situation, I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. I am blessed with the fact that I came out scotch-free. I'm okay. You know, it was in just being in sitting in that, you know, that jail that night. I was like, who am I? What am I doing with my freaking life? And
this isn't me, you know?
This is not me. I've never did I ever picture myself being in this situation. Mm-hmm. When I saw Ruggs that night, I saw a picture of him sitting in jail, and I felt all of that. And I was like, not only did I feel him, but I felt even worse for, like, even more sorry for him, because not only did he ruin his life, but he ruined another life. And
with that.
As much as, you know, God doesn't hate him. God doesn't, you know, God still loves him unconditionally, and he's gonna be forgiven. He's forgiven, but it's who knows if he's gonna forgive himself.
I thought the same thing. I prayed for him not to commit suicide, girl, because
I did. And that was Scorpio season, and I freaking, it hit me so hard, and I just, like, gratitude just flushed through my body, and sending him so much, you know, love and support. And
yes, right now
it was crazy. Yeah. So I mean, I say, oh, he's only 22, but I was 23. So
and it's like, look at it, it's cliche to say, but I'll say it. It's like, look what in an instant can be taken away from you. Yeah. And that is not just his freedom. It is his, like, that would take away my sanity if I killed somebody. Right. He could be out and he still would feel like, wow. I mean, there's no words for it. So oh God, I love what you just said. I felt the exact same way. It took me a couple days. I truly they'd put on the press conferences, and then the players would have to answer questions. Derek Carr is like my favorite. He's my babe. He's like the quarterback. I'm like, very emotionally resonant, like man, there's some things bigger than football. You know what I'm saying? I mean, a lot of things.
I'm telling you, that was his start of his spiritual journey right there.
Yes.
Like that is the epitome of the dark night of the soul. And I think he's going to be able to, especially because he's a football player, he's going to be able to reach many lives of athletes. And that's where I don't mean to cut you off, but I kind of want to go on this like little rant real quick. Mm-hmm. I played 3 years of college soccer. Mm-hmm. I've been a soccer player my whole life, an athlete my whole life. But when I resigned from, soccer because of, a situation of, I partied way too much and I didn't focus on school. I didn't know what I wanted to finish my degree in. So I was like, I can't just be doing this to go to school for sports. So I dropped out of school and I had absolutely no idea who I was. I was like, I've been an athlete my whole life. I'm Elyse the athlete. Like, who am I outside of this? So I can speak for athletes who are no longer, in that, playing that sport in that career, that it's deep and dark, and it's finding who you are after you've been conditioned to be that athlete your whole life, and you're more than just athletics. And I think he's going to reach a really good crowd of athletes like me who, have go through this dark night of the soul of like finding themselves, the journey of finding themselves. And especially for athletes, we don't meditate. We don't, sports are a thing where jocks, like and it's,
let's talk about stigma. That is very true. It's like, that's why Tom Brady kind of got some shit, because he said, oh, Giselle helps me with meditation and yoga, and he got a lot of shit. So I took a class about gender bias, which is very intriguing, talking to you about it. My daughter and I have tons of conversations with my little Scorpio. So do you think that it is implied for society for someone who identifies as masculine to keep up the tough image and not show vulnerability? And do you think that meditation and other practices such as the spiritual modalities are considered to be weak because it's a vulnerability that they perceive?
Most definitely, especially for men, especially for men in sports. And like women, it's a little different because, as a woman, you're supposed to be this feminine, you're supposed to take care of yourself, and whatever. But for a man to be vulnerable and say, hey, I meditate, I take care of myself, I, get a facial, like, and there's this guy, he's a rapper. His name is Mike. He used to be called Mike Stud, but he played Duke sports. He played baseball, hurt his arm, got a career ending injury, and he became a rapper. And now he reaches, all these masculine whoever, like he reaches these lives of athletes after sports, that you can do something else that you want to. You can express yourself in different ways. And that's another thing, as an athlete, you express yourself through your sports. So after that, after life, after sports, how do you express yourself other than partying and trying to ignore, that side of you? So I think with this rapper, like he really inspired me to meditate and to focus on, like, even, for a like if you call yourself masculine or feminine, whatever, you can still take care of yourself.
Yes.
So, mind, body, soul.
Dude's getting a petty down at the thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just awesome. Yeah. Or someone to stand up for like women's rights, and I think that's badass. I love rap, and I will check out Mike Stud. You said, right?
Yeah. So it's now just Mike.
Okay.
So if you look on Spotify, it's his name is just Mike.
I love that.
But like I followed him for a long time. But he has an awesome story. Like, follow him on Instagram. He talks a lot about philosophy and spirituality.
So he's being vulnerable.
Being very vulnerable, especially for like I said, for a masculine jockey guy. Rapper, he gets to reach that crowd, those athletes, and he's like, there's people who comment back to him like, hey man, I tried to meditate and like I don't talk about it, but like I meditated and I feel better, So it makes me happy. And like with Ruggs, he'll be able to reach a masculine athlete crowd, which is cool. Kind of went off topic, but
no, girl, you know what? Let's roll with that. I love you, and I want to apologize. I always am working on not talking over people. I have been that way since I've been a little girl. I'm so excitable. I know it's something, like, even when I was in therapy 3 years ago, I'm like, dude, slow your roll. So I apologize. No, but you can switch it up. anytime. It's flowing. And I also agree with that. Besides praying for him not to commit suicide and for the families and everything else, I prayed that he will find his calling like you're doing right now. You're taking that identity, I guess, from being identified as, good at sports or doing that role into now helping to relate to other people and validate their emotions. And I think that would be a perfect thing, because look at what he had and lost. And also, I guess that there is this service that all NFL people have where they can get a free Uber because of that thing, and they can get a limo one or whatever. And so I just feel like he has a lot of things to go around and say, hey, look, young jocks, you worked your whole life, for this. You don't want to go and impress a girl, you know what I mean, and go 150 mile per hour and do this, or you don't want to drink and drive. I think I pray that can be his inspiration, because like you said, he's starting his spiritual journey, and look at two people, Florida and California citizen souls were deeply affected. And I have a feeling that we're definitely not the only ones. You know what I mean? I mean, that was impactful. And sometimes I have a lot of honor for them. People get mad at me. I'm glad that you said that, that God forgives him and he's not, because I often say something where people are like, oh, unfollow, that I was channeled during my spiritual awakening, that people like, unfortunately, Hitler, people like that, they have a place in the afterlife, and there's no fiery hell. That's just my belief. And it's as if they were like the evolved souls in the pre-life, because it's such a hard job to come down and create damage on purpose, kind of like Judas in the Bible, that I feel as if they're doing a very tough thing. And people are like, what? No, people are just humans and they're evil. And my God, would I take the Holocaust back 100 times, a million times over? But I feel like that collectively taught us, I'm sure, a billion different reasons, hopefully, not to have, racial bias and everything else. And just, dictatorship and everything else that was just evil, affect the world. So I always think that, there is too cheesy of a perspective, but there's always a silver lining to even the worst situations. And so I think that, a lot of people, I don't blame them. That's their own opinion. But a lot of people were coming out with really violent, or not violent, but rude statements against, he's going to burn in hell, and all this stuff. And so I just feel like it's my choice and it's my path to lead with a loving, compassionate kind of, what would Jesus do? Like, you know what I mean? Like he's healing lepers or whatever he's doing, or Buddha's giving a kiss to the guy who just committed murder. It's just like, that is my truth. And I know that a lot of people don't believe in that, but I think that it's vulnerable to put yourself in a position where you don't have to blame an eye for an eye. You know what I mean? I just don't feel like that's where I vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And who are we to judge? Like, we're not the, we just judge yourself at the end of the day. Like, that's all you have room for. And you don't know what somebody's going through. And that's what I had to learn the hard way, because my first thought with the situation was, that's horrible. He needs to go to jail and sit with himself. But then I was like, you know what? I went through the same thing, and I'm blessed that I didn't, go to that extent. Like, my situation didn't go to that extent. And I was like, who am I to judge? First of all, even if that didn't happen to me, who am I to judge?
Yeah. Yeah.
And two, he's already lived his own hell. He's created his own hell on this earth. Yes. And he's having to pay for it. And like, why add any more, horrible energy to the guy? Like, so I'm nobody to sit here and judge. So
100%. That is so beautiful, eloquently put. And like you said, when I just saw that picture or that video of him, just the first look I got him, you can see it in his soul. And I couldn't believe how much it hurt and how grateful I was, and just how wow. And I think that's very, very emotionally intelligent. Even if I didn't do my whole thing, I think that hearing you speak aloud, it gives me validation. Like, it is a good thing to acknowledge and be grateful for what you did not succumb to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
God bless. Yeah.
Oh, man, it was heavy during Scorpio season, right? And then there was all kind of different coming back. Relationship hurts and just things that you're like, wait, I thought that I dealt with this, but hello, Scorpio season. It was
straight up. I mean, it was a hell of a way to end the year, but
True.
Thank God Sag season is here to help liberate us from.
I'm glad that you feel that, because I really truly do. I feel that collective, and it's neat because I think that this is cool to spearhead it with this vibage right here. I think that it is true. I think that it's like, let's go, because there are obviously a lot of things that are in discord, and you never know what next year. I mean, things have to, the ship has to probably, after it hits the iceberg, it's either sink or you have to be saved. We got to all get in this together, So, you never know.
And real quick, about the collective energy going on.
Yes.
We have to, going through your spiritual journey, you start to learn that everything happens for a reason. Everything's happening in divine timing, in sync. Not one thing is a coincidence in this world.
Amen.
And humans aren't in control. We may think we are in control, but our egos didn't create us. Like we weren't like, our ego wasn't like one day, oh, I want to be born. Like God created us.
Yes, we're a co-pilot.
Created us, or whoever you believe, or if you don't believe, something created you. You didn't create you. So,
Amen.
Yeah, it's like there's something bigger than us.
Yes,
everything's happening for a reason. So if we can look at the bigger picture of it, like things have to break down to be rebuilt. And I think that should give people a little bit more comfort to realize that like these old structures, these old Piscean structures of that era are breaking down, and we're moving into the Aquarius era, where like the Aquarian age, where
revolution,
like, it's gonna have to be rebuilt in a better way with a more solid foundation and more power to the people instead of power to controlled government and stuff like that. And that's what we see right now. I mean, I don't know if we want to go into that.
I'm topic with that. I think that's so true what you just said, because it's like, I'm big on that. I know we touched a little bit about our, sins from our generational ancestors and things like that. It's like, I'm such a big proponent for, my God, what have we done with not only the environment? How do we ever pick up a person and whip them and take them over to another country to build? I mean, there is so much patriarchy and this whole egocentric, masculine, Piscean age.
That masculine energy from the Piscean age. And moving into the Aquarian age, it's more of a feminine, loving, expressive, and that's why it's been a little bit easier for us to slowly start to express ourselves. And you're going to see that a lot more in the next 20, 30, 40, many years to come, because it's going to be more of an accepting society. Masculine and feminine will start to merge instead of one side or the other. It's going to be a lot better. So that's why I'm like, we see, the news likes to scare us and show us that, oh, we're going to die tomorrow, or, blah, 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 blah. But it's like
fear factor,
control. Exactly. Control the masses, scare them, keep them in fright, keep them sick, keep them scared, keep them whatever. But it's like, if you do the work and if you just try to meditate, you'll realize that this is all happening for a reason.
Absolutely.
Everything's gonna be okay. Everybody just breathe. Go out, walk outside, go into nature, realize that everything happens for a reason. Leaves grow to fall, we go through seasons. So
we do. Even as a universe and planet, it's like we've had an extinction event that has wiped out 97% of all the living things, and guess what? We're here. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. And there's so many things that are, I hate to say the big COVID word, but there's so many things, like look at the Black Plague. The ratio on that is like, okay, you get it, you're 95% chance to die. I mean, there's just thousands of people. I mean, there's just so much that can be said with everything we're going into. I think that the most important part is to let people know we'll be okay. We'll be okay as long as you guys don't, butt heads to the point where you're violent. It's like, why make it bad much worse?
Exactly. Don't fight with they want to divide and control us. And right now right now more than ever, come together and realize, like I said, things are happening exactly how they're supposed to.
I love that. We're where we need to be, right? And it's like, if we do that, if we're giving them exactly what they wanted, if we're, breaking up and dividing and going to arms, that's exactly what their program and control mechanism was to. You know what I mean? Right. Okay, the other question I wanted to ask you, which I'm super impressed with the way that you are just naturally comfortable. Your energy sings like, I'm comfortable with being vulnerable. But have you always been comfortable about talking about your feelings. I have been, like TMI always would say I'm TMI. However, I had a very choosy way of leaving like my weight or something out that I didn't want to, maybe my daughter's weight or my daughter's choice to be lesbian or something like that. I would just leave it out only because I was proud of it all, but I just did not want to hear the criticism because for whatever reason, I would let that, of course, affect me. And so I'm just wondering, have you always been comfortable with, being vulnerable?
Not at all. But the more I get to know myself, the more I get comfortable with myself, the more I get closer to my truth. So every day is a challenge of just trying to find more about myself, my likes, my dislikes, getting over the fact that people pleasing, that's what I wanted to say about this whole vulnerability thing.
Yes. Okay.
When you hide your vulnerability, you start to people please. And the more you people please, the more you lose yourself. And so trying to move away from people pleasing, even though I love to make people comfortable and I don't want to, stir up any tensions or anything ever, but realizing that if my truth stirs your pot, there's something inside of you that needs to be looked at. Like if I, like a mirror, and it's like, I like that. Like now I'm getting to the point where I kind of like to trigger people a little bit, and not like egotistically.
I know what you mean.
On a deeper level of, I hope this is triggering you so you can look at it within yourself and fix it.
Yeah.
And same thing for me. I see triggers from like people show me for myself,
yes.
reflections, and I'm like, you know what? I can fix this. Like I see that hidden, part of myself that is being pulled out, and relationships will show you that, friendships, anything, coworkers, a lot of the times in business with your boss, anything like that. It's like, this is a trigger, so I can help not fix myself, but I can, look at it and heal it, not, have to fix myself, but like just to heal, to be the better version of myself.
So true what you said about vulnerability and people pleasing. It's like we could, make people happy to a certain point, but when it becomes a detriment to our own happiness and or behavior or attitude, then that's when I have found in the past I was over the top a people pleaser.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous. I was in a, under a power and control thing with even my spouse where I was like, oh, may I go on Saturday night? And I was like, who is that? Looking back, I'm like, not a bitch, but I'm like, who in the F would ask their man? You know what I mean? I like to. So I was bending over backward. And you know what? I look back, I'm like, what benefit was it giving me? No more notoriety, no more like, it's like what we do that for is, I think, a lot of reasons, of course. But I feel that is such a commonality, don't you, as far as people who are able to express themselves with a spiritual awakening. It's just a lot of us are really people pleasers. And I think that in a nice way, rose-colored glasses, it shows the love and the kindness and the ability or willingness to be an empath and want to make everybody comfortable. But then again, it's that's the easy way out sometimes for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And it shows, people pleasing shows that you don't have boundaries, and people take advantage of that.
Oh gosh, yes. Is it hard for you to set boundaries? That's very hard for me.
It's hard. As an empath, like I said, a highly sensitive person, like you want to make people happy, but at the end of the day, if it's a detriment to losing your happiness, then
your path, right?
And your power. So
power, yes. Giving other people your power. Look at what it's done to Mother Gaia. Look what it's done to our Earth. It's like it's a mess. It's a shit show. You know what I'm saying when you do that.
Amen.
Okay. So I wanted to say also, when you are authentic and have been vulnerable and get negative feedback or judgment, or even feel those psychic attacks, like you said, you can tell that it's a judgment cast. How do you react to criticism now? And is it any difference from now or before when you were not so vulnerable to people pleaser? How do you react to any kind of kickback from being vulnerable?
It's still, it's a kind of an ungrounding feeling, because you start to want to people please and be like, I don't know, it's like I'm trying to find the words for it. Like it's just an ungrounding feeling, but you have to realize to get centered back into yourself and be like, you know, because this happens all the time with me.
Me too.
Especially like I feel like with a lot of males that I trigger, and I don't even know why. I think because like I show myself more masculine,
and very confident in that role too.
And confident, yeah.
That insecurity is all over the place, right?
Yeah, and it's like I'm triggering them for a reason. So when I can get grounded back in myself and kind of say this is happening for a reason, like don't lose yourself because of this situation. That's when I can come back to terms with, you know, understanding the situation and that kind of being more objective to it than subjective to the situation. So
that's wisdom.
If I answered that correctly,
that was perfect. Ding ding ding.
But in the past, it was hard for me with triggers like that. I didn't know what to do, and I wasn't really comfortable with it myself either. So I just want to hide in my shell and be like, I'm sorry, I trusted you. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to cause problems on toes. Like,
yes. You know, I ask this if you're comfortable. I think that is fascinating what you just brought up. Do you think that is, obviously everything is, but is that part of your mission, your main divine order to be in that role of such a powerful embodiment and, you know, display this masculine qualities for perhaps masculine, you know, the patriarchy to take notice and be like, well, what is it with me that I can't be confident and nice and liberating and civil right? Do you think that is a part of your role?
Absolutely. And that's what I've learned on this journey. This spiritual journey is I'm here to trigger people.
Beautiful.
Whether, you know, other females who dress like me, you know, look like me, want to step into more of that masculine role, or men, like males, like either way, I trigger them both. Yeah. And it's
that's cool. It's multifaceted. You know, like
it's like a multifaceted thing, and it's like I'm not here to piss you off. I'm not here to, you know, make you feel uncomfortable. I'm here to show you that you can, like, everybody can win. You can show your truth, speak your truth. Like, that's why I'm shining my light and being comfortable with myself, so you can as well. So I can be an example for what how you can liberate yourself.
Absolutely.
So I've had to learn that the hard way with people, that this is my path. And as much as, like I said, I want to people please and make everybody happy, the more I keep my boundaries strong, the more, you know, I'm standing in my truth.
True. So that is very true. Good point.
Yeah.
And the more that we overcome, like you said, like, I think you are totally like a generator of that, because you definitely, I released a blockage in my throat chakra I didn't even know I had by releasing the video. And I think that you are definitely doing that. And I find that what you just said is true. As we continue to step into that power and, you know, keep our boundaries, like, no, I'm not going to delete that video just because so-and-so emailed me and told me I was a quack. I think that we grow. That happens. Whatever. And I'm like, deuces. But, you know, I'm like, look, bro, I'm like, you would not want this to happen to you, because you would already be in the 5150 ward, because it was hard for, you know, open-minded Pisces to be like, wow, you know, Stranger Things. Oh, off topic. Do you know that show, Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched it?
I watched the first and the second season.
Okay. My daughter and I was going to ask you, because I just find that to be interesting, because it's about remote viewing and everything else. And I often watch, like, I used to watch documentaries about the real program where they had, you know, CIA would train people to remote view for the Russians and stuff. So, yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of Gaia TV.
Yes, I love it.
Well, they have the actual, like, retired agents, like CIA agents, who talk about their experiences, and it's freaking cool. I got into that probably like the start of my journey, and I'm like, this is freaking awesome. It's the fact that there's like actual evidence, like, of people coming out and saying this is how this was, this is how this works. It's truly a thing. It's not just TV. And
yeah. It is very validating, right? I like Greg Braden. I like a lot of people on there. I found that too, like right about, I guess, 2016, 17. I was like, yes, okay. And it really saying to me, a lot of cool shows. And that definitely helped me. There's a lot of stuff on there about UFO phenomena. And I'm like, well, okay. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people that just when you look at them, I don't know if I come across that way, but when you look at them, I'm like, that person looks too like shell-shocked to be making a fib up. It's like, I just
yeah. And especially when like people who all across the world who are talking about the same exact thing and don't know each other, it's like, okay, there's something to this. Like, people aren't just gathering in a meeting and talking about how, making up stories and
right for what
all the same type of story,
To be vulnerable, to be judged, I don't think so. No one wants to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this one was brought up. I was thinking about vulnerability as far as emotional vulnerability and judging. And I was wondering if there was a misperception out there in the past about you, or current, like maybe someone thinks that I'm not really a goofball, that when I get off of this thing, I'm just like, I don't know. Is there any conceptions that you dislike the most that you've heard or people have brought to you? Who, and who are you in representation,
I don't think so. Like, I think like once you get to know me, you're like, okay, yeah, she's that way. She's not put on a front. Like,
no, but what have people, like, has there ever been something, let's say, like my friend, she was known for being, extra or something, and she feels that was a misconception. So did anybody, when you were a kid or grown up or whatever, label you as something and you're just like, no, that is definitely not me? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd say because I was always like, because I wasn't speaking my truth, I'd hold back. I was like more quiet and reserved.
Okay.
But that's not me. That's like learning my soul and who I am. That's not me. My soul is expressive and just shines its colors, and just coming to like into that merge of my ego and my soul. It's like, and it's kind of like uncomfortable to like talk to people from high school because I'm totally not the same person at all. Yeah. But like I said, I was a little bit more reserved in my expression, and I was a people pleaser. So now it's like people would be like, who are you? Like, you're definitely not the same person. It's like, no, I'm me now. Like,
I'm the real version.
Yeah, this is the real me. Nice to meet you.
Totally agree with that. I totally agree. And that is a perfect answer to that. Is a definite misconception for sure. The misconception is that you weren't throat chakra blocked and meek, and you were a powerful, beautiful, expressive person. And I think that that's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly. And I wanted to say, have you ever been inspired by anybody, either in friends, family, circle, maybe a celebrity, Gandhi, anyone that has inspired you by showing an incredible amount of vulnerability in a situation?
Honestly, I would say more people in my environment. Like, I wouldn't say like celebrities or like, some so-called famous person. I think, and besides Pink, she's freaking awesome. She speaks the truth. I absolutely love her and adore her. Yeah. But besides her, like, it's more of people I just see throughout my day. If when I'm working, or like, just seeing somebody walk out in public and see, a female express herself in a masculine way.
Yes. That's
like, okay, like if she can do it, I can, and I think it's just everyday life of seeing normal people just being able to show their truth. I think when you're famous, it's a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but you have more of a fan club to be like, yeah, like
you have a safety net, right? Like
a safety net. People like you anyways because of why you're famous, but
right? You're gonna have haters, but you're gonna have just as many lovers. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. So I think just seeing everyday people, women, females, speak their truth, and even like whoever you identify with, just seeing people, trans people, whoever, just speak their truth and be liberated and not care who has anything to, like, who's got something to say, whether family, stranger, relative, you know, whomever, friends, just regular people speaking their truth is
and
what
you don't pay attention to the misconceptions that are brought on them, you know what I mean? And I agree with that so much. I agree with that. The LGBTQ, whenever I see like a couple just doing their thing, whatever it is, expressing themselves in any way, I'm like, yes. And I also feel that about like plus size models and things like that, because I've been having my life, and I'm like, yes, whatever it is that you are owning and you are expressing and you're, you know, comfortable with it, it's like, please, that is so inspiring to me. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Amen. I agree
on that. Sweetheart, are you in any rush? I forgot to tell you about.
No way.
You stopped me in if it's going on. Yeah, I'm chill too. I just totally think that it is an intriguing thing when we talk about inspiration, because a lot of people stick out of my mind. I don't know. A lot of people stick out of my mind, either friends, family, of course, or like you said, that was a perfect answer. People like every day when I'm like on my walk, absolutely. I'll be like, right on. That's a, you know, that's a interracial couple, or that's a whatever it is that is making those people. Yeah, exactly. So I just think that it is just such a part of all of our journey to pass the torch and to inspire people. And I just feel that vulnerability is the toughest type of, well, one of the toughest type of healing, because you really have to get on that level. Like it says, you have to be susceptible, you know, to whatever it is. You have to be susceptible to your own judgment afterward, you know?
Exactly. And like here's a little quick story. I was at Applebee's one night with my friend, and he's Mexican, and there was this Mexican family who was there, or Spanish family. They looked Mexican, whatever. I don't want to make any.
Yeah, but they spoke Spanish though.
But they're Spanish family, and you know, in certain cultures, it's hard for you to speak your truth, and with that, like with all the guy, like it was a whole family of people, so they're a huge table, and with a few of the guys, like these were adults. They got so triggered with me, just you know, like just what I looked like. And I went to the bathroom, and obviously I went to the females' bathroom because that's what I am. And I come out, and they were giving me like the dirtiest looks, and they were laughing at me. And the kid runs up to me. This kid's probably like 6-7 years old, and he goes, "You just walked in the wrong bathroom, haha." And I'm just like, dang. Like at first,
the kids influencing that shit.
They've already like influenced the poor kid, and he's not even old enough to even understand. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything to this kid. He doesn't know better. But I look at the people, and I just have the biggest smile on my face, like biggest smile. I'm like, you cannot break me. It's taken me so long to come out of my shell and express myself. I'm like, I just sat there and smiled the whole time. And they hated it. Like they hated it. They were still like looking at me, pointing, laughing. Like I was like I had a clown suit on.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that's Pisces' favorite flex. I want to just say that right now. That is my favorite flex is, okay, you think you're going to get mad because you're going to get happy because I'm going to get mad and react. No, I'm going to be like, no, you're going to see like, oh, okay. They get so much more.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're getting that right back on your own plate, you know?
And I felt bad because my friend who was with me, he was, you know, Spanish as well, from a traditional family it's hard for him to express himself. And he, you know, it's taken him a long time he's got nice long, like, you know, hair, like, what's the word? I can't even think of it, but he's got, you know, beautiful hair, and he's a masculine guy, but he likes to express himself in a little bit more feminine outside way. And I think he got way more uncomfortable than I did, because he's like, you know, like these are like my people. I hope I'm not, you know, looking bad and
targeted maybe, or just
like I think he felt targeted as well. And I'm like, is this making you uncomfortable? Because I don't want to, you know, I don't want to do that to you. And he's like, no, like, are you uncomfortable? I was like, no, I'm happy. Like this was God showing me that, you know, it was a test of whether you wanted to continue to express yourself or not. And it was like a liberating feeling. And I was, you know, as much as I was very uncomfortable, I just kept smiling and keeping, you know, standing my ground for what I believe. And So for anybody out there who lives, who's with a traditional family, whatever background you're from, Spanish, black, white, purple, green, whatever whatever background you're from, it's hard with the traditional family to express yourself because you're supposed to be this type of way in their eyes.
Let's shout out right now. This is a beautiful soul. Shout out Bay. That's what I call him. He lives in India. And so I learned a lot in the last 3 years about how very difficult it is in some cultures there. Jaipur is where he lives. He is definitely feminine. He expresses himself, and he's been told little examples. He will put a choker on or something, and it's like, the parents or the family, it's like the end of the world. They'll be like, they'll give him like, oh, why would you disgrace the family? And I think that he explained that they have like a little town that is where if you're not going to get an arranged marriage and you're wanting to be gender different, then you kind of outcast that town. I mean, it's kind of just intriguing different countries and different, like you said, cultures that truly expect you either, I don't know, maybe Latin, like my Chilean side, that they're all Catholic. And so in the beginning, I'm like, they're like, oh, I'm going to pray for her. She's doing this.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm putting my screen real quick. Sorry.
It's okay, hon. Right, so I feel that's a very, very true point that you brought up. It depends on culture. It depends on also race sometimes, the demographics, and it really can affect you because it's been hard for him to express himself in any kind of way like that. He was almost suicidal because of that, because when you get somebody, especially when they're your peers or guardians, telling you, over and over and over what you're doing is wrong and disgraceful, you know what I mean? You can't express yourself. So
yeah. And just shout out to anybody out there who's going through that.
Yes.
I'm from a traditional Italian family. So it's been hard to, with my elders, like try to put up this front of who I am. And when I cut my hair, they're like, oh, you're this beautiful girl. Why would you do that? Why are you trying to be like a guy? And I'm like, I'm not trying to be like anybody. I'm just trying to be me.
Yeah. Boom.
And
sorry, sweetheart. Didn't mean to cut you off. I was just wondering if you're comfortable with expressing about how your family reacted or how you felt in that very moment. That was have been one of the most vulnerable points ever to like just be like, this is me coming out and this is what's up.
Yeah, I felt very alienated.
Did you?
And my biggest like challenge was my mom.
Okay.
And the day I came home with the haircut, she looked at me like I was crazy, like absolutely just like I was an alien just landing on Earth. Like who the is, excuse my language, I'm sorry.
No, you can, I'm sorry if I cuss a lot in my potty mouth, but you can cuss, it's okay. But
yeah, for all the young ones out there, I apologize. But like I came home that day and for like probably 2 weeks, she just kept looking at me like that. And as I just smiled, I would just smile and like hold and that was probably the biggest obstacle, the biggest person I had to overcome was her. And once I did that, I was like, people can look at me like I'm crazy. And the fact that I got through that facing my mom and myself, nobody can hurt me. Like I'm gonna hold my smile and hold my ground because this is who I am. And the fact that society even has to be that way is absolutely disgusting and mind blowing.
Oh, me too. I agree.
But
it's terrible.
But that's why we're here to hold our light and anchor that light and show that if it triggers somebody, whatever. But I hope at the end of the day, it helped that person subconsciously realize that they can express themselves and how they want to. So
Amen. Because it's like you were saying earlier about people being a sum part and totality of what they've been influenced with in the programming. It's like, I'm sure that your mom, if she did have any bias, is basing that off of something that she was given the knowledge. Because if we were raising our kids, which I have, I'm saying, to be like, that is not even in a thought. That is, you know what I mean? That's like, oh, love you. So I'm not saying any blame. My parents, same way. But I was wondering, did you ever mention anything or express anything to that effect that you were becoming this version of yourself? And also I wanted to ask your mom in particular, did she have any kind of reservations in general regarding LGBTQ and everything else like that? Like gender?
Oh, yeah. I grew up with my parents cracking gay jokes my whole life, and like just it making them seeing a gay couple, or seeing a flamboyant feminine guy or anything like that, and it's like just hearing that programming, I'm like, I sure as heck can't come out to them. Like, so that was my thing for a long time. Okay. And but yeah, I mean, she grew up with programming, and my dad was even worse because he's the Italian. My mom's side is German.
Okay.
My mom's side was a little bit more expressive than my dad's side, but yeah, and I try to have a conversation with them after, like, coming out and everything, about deeper into who I was. And they were like, I don't think that's you. I think you're just confused. And I'm like, no, I know this is me, and I'm not confused. But that made me even more confused for a while.
Yeah, and that's dismissing and devaluing. That's like, the whole part of like, yes.
That's why I was being vulnerable. So speaking about vulnerability, that's why I was being vulnerable. So not to be, not to get their approval, but to just tell them who I was. And, but yeah, it was kind of very dismissed for a while, until they were like, you know what, you're happy. I'm glad. We just want you to be happy. Like, and we were programmed and subconsciously programmed and consciously programmed to be this, to have this.
They said that to you?
Yeah. They were like,
awesome. That they say how biased.
Yeah, they're like, like they got to the point where they were like, we see how happy you are, and we truly apologize because and 111 on the timer, that's funny. But we see how happy you are, and we just want you to be happy. Like, you do you be you. And the fact that, like, I anchored in that light opened up their minds a lot. So it's just trigger. At first you're gonna trigger, but then it's gonna help them, whoever it is, it's gonna help them subconsciously, hopefully, be more accepting to things.
Their soul evolves. In a positive way.
And I've helped them a lot, like, evolve spiritually and be more accepting into, there's more to life than black and white. There's colors in the world now. And
I think we're put often, empaths were put into this environment, either growing up with and or the families or people we, live with thereafter. And I feel like it's such a common thing. I'd say 99%. Is one person, and then the rest see black and white, and you're the one that kind of sees the shade areas and what if and what not. I wanted to ask you on that note, your dad and your mom, were they into a traditional sect of religion, and did they raise you like that? How was it for you to become vulnerable regarding your spirituality and compared to coming out? Was it the same, or are they not so strict on the religious?
So my dad grew up very Catholic, so he was, forced to go to church his whole life. And my mom grew up with, with her mom, so she was a single mom, and they didn't push anything down her throat. So I got, two different spectrums of the religious factor and the spiritual factor. So my mom's like, I've always been more spiritual. I've always really liked Buddha and cool. Hinduism and Buddhism, and never really like got into it, but understood a little bit of that, religious role.
That there's pieces of religions that are all kind of the same, and it's all the same spoken word, just skewed a little bit, right?
Yeah. So my dad, he was like, he never forced us to go to church. He's like, I want you to have your own opinion. Because I hated it. I'd go to he'd be like, I was forced to go to church. If I didn't, my parents would beat my ass. Like, excuse my language.
Yeah, I know, it's funny.
But yeah, so he's like, I never made you guys have to go to church. Like, I allowed you to be, find your own way.
That's great, dude. I have to shout this out because you just said it was 111, right? My dad's birthday, may he rest in peace, is 11/1. Okay, Scorpio to the fullest. He was my BFF. He also had a similar, but it was Mormon, right? So he was such a rebel by the time he had me, like at 23. He would, Yeah, yeah. It was like the whole entire premise of him saying, I can hear it when I was 5 years old. He was just like your dad. He said, hey, I was forced to go to that Mormon bullshit. And they told me if I wasn't wearing magic underwear, they weren't going to heaven. So I want you, honey child. He's like, you think about your own decisions. They didn't even have me get my ears pierced until I was old enough to say yes or no. So that was super hippie and liberal, but I appreciated having the opportunity to make my own decisions. So I think that is shout out to your dad for that, because he saw the confinement that was for him and for you to have the opposite of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And he broke those chains, that ancestral chain of having to follow. And I give my dad a lot of props, because he showed up as a parent, and I don't think his parents ever really did. He showed up as a father, a loving, supportive father. And it was kind of hard for his dad to show love, and he showed financial support, but he didn't show love, and he didn't show accepting, and wasn't accepting, still really isn't. And he was the grandpa who was like, oh, you're not like that, you're this beautiful girl, why are you looking, so that was his side of the family. So for him to show up in that way and break those those chains of
ancestral curses, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So hats off, dude. I have to ask it. My mom is a Virgo, my dad is Scorpio, so, and I was the only child. I have to ask, are you do you have sisters, brothers, and what signs are your parents and your sisters and brothers, if so?
That's hilarious. So my dad's a Scorpio, my mom's a Leo.
I knew what I was going to ask you if he was.
Yeah. So those, and it's funny because like I'm very attracted to like those two signs, which, and it's not like, I hope that didn't sound weird, but just seeing the, like how, like, I think growing up and being familiar with those signs of expression, like Scorpio is very deep, Leo is very passionate. So I think, coming across like types of people like that in my life, I've really liked that expression of personality, and I've been able to understand like that. And I have an older sister. She's 3 years older than me. Taurus, she's the most beautiful freaking soul I've ever met in my life. She's an earth angel. Like, she is absolutely amazing. Always been very accepting. So far from judgmental.
And what sign is she?
She's a Taurus.
Oh, okay. Earth angel. I didn't hear you say Taurus. Okay.
Yeah, she's a Taurus. So
love.
Freaking beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul. And I'm very blessed for her. She's been a huge support in my life. But yeah. Sure.
Right on, dude. I had to ask, and you know what's funny? I should have hit you with it. I should have said, you know what? This is sounding like your dad is a Scorpio, because of course you're Pisces. I'm like, of course it is. And that's hilarious. So as you know, I was telling you that same thing, surrounded. So my two eldest are Leos, born 4 years apart, but August 9th and 10th, like literally almost on the same day. And then my little mini me, Scorpio, it adds, it adds some, like you said, passion and depth. And I think that,
and Pisces like that. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, I'm glad that I'm not the only one. So go ahead.
We've been doing that, but yeah, like as a Pisces, like we're deep and we're passionate. So to have those two signs, like, in our lives, like that, it's really cool to see. So
true. I often wonder. I mean, I often not wonder, but I wonder if people know this about Pisceans, that of course we're the 12th sign. That means we've accumulated all these traits from each sign. So I once saw this astrologer, and it was perfect. She was saying like a day in the life of a Pisces can be 12 different type of embodiments of different type of, and I'm like, oh, that's so true. You know what I mean? It's like, you just very much can, be evolving. Not that you change who you are, but it's just very expressive, as deep. And I love that about you. I've had just like the best conversation. This is such good vibes. I hope that you are willing to come on again, because I want to say I have like to get off and journal down 5 topics that I think would be fabulous to conversate with. I just think it's just really, really a cool thing to show people who you are and pass the torch. And I have nothing but love and respect for your journey. And Scorpio season had a lot more, things that we could probably touch on too, of just looking deep. And I think that that's a beautiful thing, self-reflection and looking deep and seeing what there is or is not. Like you said, we don't have to fix, but if something triggers within us, we look at it and we say, okay, well, is there something broken? If we're in our power and we know there's nothing and that was just their projection, we can go on. But if we see something is, whoa, it's hurting or whatever it does to us because of us, then that is a spearhead. It's like a trigger to actually do good and see what we can do to heal. So, yeah.
See, and one more thing, I think with being vulnerable, you'll attract the right people. You'll attract the right soul family. And I think that's how, I came across you, is that that was really when I started to express myself like fully, outwardly.
Yes. I was holding back too. And I'm so glad that you said that, because that genuinely is how I feel that you have enabled me. I'm like, cool. That seems like I cannot even tell you how much it just feels resonant. Like, okay, a soul tribe, like kindred spirits. Like I don't feel at all careful about what I'm saying. And usually I don't, but you know what I mean? I just feel as if that is going to help me too. The more, like you said, the more I thought I was being authentic, but the more you are vulnerable and put yourself, into a real raw place, the more, like you said, you'll attract the people who are knowing that you're being real. And the others, whatever, they can think that I'm BSing or whatever. And then, obviously that energy is supposed to not be a part of it. You know what I mean? Oh, you are so rad. I have to send you some memes. I was going to try to be fancy and put them up on the screen, but reminded me of you and I this morning. It was kind of cool. It was just some empowering one. So I'll tag you on Instagram, and I'm already like an anxious person. So I'm like, probably going to DM you. And when do you want to schedule the next? Because I just feel great.
Let me know.
I will. You're an angel. I totally appreciate you. I appreciate your beautiful sister. Shout out for her loving vibes. I can feel it through your energy, and your dad and your mom. Just everybody who has helped, hindered, or whatever it is in your life that has made you who you are. What a blessing. And I'm grateful for your words. They were put so eloquently and authentic, just real. So I think that people, whomever is going to watch this, it's going to be the right people and it's going to touch them. So I super appreciate you, girl.
I appreciate you. Woo! Thank you for having me on here.
And it's a wrap. You're so welcome, girl. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, take care.
I'm going to turn this off, which is always my thing. Let me see.